I wrote a memoir. It's called Nourish the Soul, Filling the Emptiness Within. It's the only book I wrote for adults because I'm a children's book author. I took my own diaries and that became a journal and letters. I filled in the missing pieces. It explains how you basically go with me like a documentary of how I developed food addictions and how I healed from it. When I put the book together, that's when I understood how I was able to heal. It was actually through putting the book together that I came to see all the threads tying my life together.
Welcome, everyone, to the One Moment Podcast. We have a wonderful, amazing guest on our show today, and we will be introducing her here in a moment. My name is Kevin, and I am a clinician, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, a licensed clinical addiction specialist, and a certified clinical supervisor, all in the state of North Carolina. And before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to open it up, right? We're going to be talking about some very hot topics. And I just want to make sure that people know that there's help available. Okay. Please seek help. All right. We're going to be talking about addiction. We're going to be talking about food addiction, potentially, most likely, even more likely, also substance use, overcoming certain things, overcoming struggles. So please reach out for help. You can go to SAMHSA's website. You can dial 988 if you're having a crisis. You can go to a local emergency room or a local crisis center, whatever's closest for you. There are many resources out there. Please utilize all your resources that you feel like are fitting for you. And without anything else, let's bring on Miss Bracha Goetz. And I hope I pronounced her name right. She is an amazing young lady. We were sitting here talking, and man, she's got, from what I've read on her, from what she and I were talking about, amazing, rich experience, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, without further ado, take the bull by the horns.
I love sharing this because, okay, so like I wrote a memoir. It's called Nourish the Soul, Filling the Emptiness Within. It's the only book I wrote for adults because I'm a children's book author. And this book, it's like I took my own diaries and that became a journal and letters. I filled in the missing pieces. It explains how you basically go with me like a documentary of how I developed food addictions and how I healed from it. And when I put the book together, that's when I understood how I was able to heal. It was actually through putting the book together that I came to see all the threads tying my life together. And very simply, it's this. I began like feeling an emptiness in my life from about age 12. And I tried all different ways to fill it. But you know what, the addiction you get stuck on, like that, it's what gives you pleasure. It gives you immediate pleasure. Like, for instance, with food addictions, the pleasure lasts for like 2 seconds while you're experiencing the taste. And then once you've swallowed it, that's over with. So you just keep stuffing your face because you want the pleasure to keep lasting. And then you end up feeling even emptier than the bag of potato chips you've finished or the whole container of ice cream you've finished. You feel even emptier than that when you're done because you're not left with any lasting pleasure. So I went searching in my life for what gives lasting pleasure. What's the purpose of life? Like, what are we doing here? And I searched in all kinds of ways, experimenting with all kinds of things, social action, different religions, all kinds of stuff. Eventually, the funny thing is I actually started doing well in school at a certain point in high school because I was searching so hard for like, what's the purpose? What's the wisdom in life? I started studying everything and I ended up going to Harvard, which like didn't fit with my past at all. And to me, I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to find the answers. This is like the pinnacle of wisdom. And I met like a lot of like really famous and powerful people there. But I also got to see that they weren't really happy either. And I felt like I got to the top of the mountain and the answers weren't there. It wasn't like the wisdom in life I was searching for. But that was good because like many people search after that stuff for their lives. Illusions like power and money and fame, but it's not what brings lasting pleasure. So I ended up like after Harvard, I went to medical school. And the summer after my first year of medical school, and I didn't say this, that like I was getting sicker and sicker during that time, like with very eating disordered behavior and everything with addictions. You try to do it in secret so nobody knows what you're doing, and everything was hidden. So I looked successful on the outside, and nobody knew how I was suffering. And addiction is a prison, and the walls get narrower and narrower as it takes over your life. And like my behaviors were getting more and more bizarre. And I like explain this in a really raw way in the book, because if you don't explain how bad the pain gets, then you can't appreciate how good it could get after that. So I read this someplace. Addiction is like giving up everything for one thing. And recovery is giving up one thing for everything, getting everything back. It felt like the world was gray. It turned gray. And through healing, the colors have come back to life. So what I eventually found after my first year of medical school, I went to Israel that summer and I didn't come back. I left medical school. I left my whole profession, and I really immersed myself in spirituality. And what I learned is that the purpose of life is to experience the greatest pleasure possible. But the greatest pleasure possible is spiritual pleasure. And what's spiritual pleasure? Experiencing gratitude. That is what fills us up, because nothing else fills us up. But when we experience gratitude, then we actually experience fulfillment in life. So ever since then, I've been spending my life writing children's books, teaching children these happiness skills from the beginning of life, so they'll have it and they don't have to play catch up like us later on in life. So and then I just give presentations and try to help people learn about it's really an ancient mystical teachings about the pleasure ladder, and that's what I'm sharing, how to bring gratitude into our lives. Because when we are in addiction, we have a sense of scarcity. There's not enough pleasure in my life, so I have to keep like stuffing it into my life, whether it's alcohol, drugs, food, whatever the substance is, gambling, whatever. It's because we feel this scarcity of pleasure. We don't trust life to give us pleasure, so we have to be doing that ourselves. If we if we choose like to see the world in a state of abundance, if we begin to see the world through gratitude, that's how that sense of scarcity goes away, and we begin to trust life and trust ourselves, trust that there's really a good purpose to everything. It that's what changes the entire picture.
Yeah, no, you mentioned a lot. And one of the things that, I mean, because you talk about the pleasure principle, you talk about, I mean, just a lot of things, right? And how we're just trying to seek fulfillment in illusion, right? Money, power, fame, uh, authority, like all of those things, right? And yet that reminds me of a statement uh, from one of the co-founders of a 12-step program. He said, I have arrived, right? And then he talks about how, we present, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Well, we present to this outside world the stage character that, we want to everybody to see us as, yet on the inside, deep down inside, I'm cringing. My whole insides are being ripped apart. Like, one of the analogies I like to use is being ripped apart by the claws of Freddy Krueger, right? And that I don't deserve this, internally, I don't deserve this outside stage character that, I'm putting out to the world. And so, I don't specialize in food addiction, of course, but the way you explained your experience with makes me think about the work that I've done with many folks in the substance use field. I think it's crucial that food addiction, eating disorders, and substance use continue to be talked about. I've read some research, not much research, again, because I'm not a food addiction or eating disorder specialist, uh, but from some of the research that I was reading, they're saying that there's an overlap between food addiction and substance use. Almost like a food addiction and gambling, or kind of like hand in hand with various mechanisms at play internally, right? So it's interesting that you are even on the show today, but that we're talking about food addiction. Um, when did you so my question is, when when do you feel like, or when did you, as you look back on your life, notice that you had a food addiction, that there was some type of addiction going on? uh that's what I'd like to know, because I, I think that's really important to understand, because if we don't know that there's a problem, right, we can't identify the solution. But if we know there's a problem, we can identify the solution or potential solutions.
Exactly. Well, as a teen, at at first, I was dieting, and that was a lot of fun. All of a sudden, I became aware, like if I would diet, then I would look better, and I got into that as a teenager. I first became aware of that as a young teen. But then what happened was, like, I do these really restrictive diets, and then I'd be so hungry, I'd have these incredible binges. And the binges were so out of control. It was like crazy amounts of stuff. And and then after that, there'd be the restrictive dieting. So I would be fluctuating between one or the other. It had nothing to do with eating if I was hungry, because it was just motivated by all this um, really out of control behavior that was going on. And the crazy thing is that it's like a symptom. I felt out of control. I felt like life was out of control, and life felt scary. And like I was trying to control it with the food, but that wasn't helping at all. It was all just getting me more and more stuff. It really is a substance abuse. That food is a substance that's being abused, and especially with junk food. They say junk food has more of an effect on the brain like cocaine than a normal, like a food like an orange, a natural food does, because it's abnormal amounts of fat and salt and sugar are put into the junk food to stimulate these pleasure centers of the brain. They The food manufacturers make it so there's bliss points that you want to just keep eating. The food is designed to be addictive. It's made that way on purpose.
Does anyone else have that one tool that makes building a website a breeze? In an era driven by digital change, WebHash is the indispensable tool that holds the key to effortless website creation. Create websites that endure, defy censorship, and bypass any single point of failure. As cutting-edge technology redefines reality, seize the power to build beyond limits. Join the Web3 revolution now and forge paths others can only dream of. Visit our site today and build your legacy. Building my own space on the web was always a grind until I hit up WebHash. Their no-code builder is my ace. It's swift and solid. It's like rocking a digital fortress that's immune to the typical shutdowns. Level up your web presence without stress. Ready to stake your claim in the digital realm? Dive into WebHash today, connect your Web3 wallet, and get started. They have multiple subscription plans, from a free version to a lifetime subscription. Check them out today at webhash.com. Most importantly, they sponsor the One Moment podcast, helping to raise awareness to critical topics in the healthcare field. Our official website was built using the WebHash platform. Throughout the projects that the One Moment movement built on WebHash, they stood behind and supported it all the way. Sign up and start building your website today. Don't forget to visit onemoment.chain.box and subscribe to our social media channels.
And I can see that.
Right.
I could see that, because if it's interesting that you say that, because I typically teach whenever I get to talking about the principle, pleasure principle, and I usually combine that with survival theory, right? And when we look at survival theory of the human species, of any species for that matter, right, in its most simplest and oversimplistic form, right? Uh, the body likes what the body likes, whether we like it or not. Like, we can't control what we like versus what we don't like. It's just, the way we're wired. I know people right now that love chicken and liver and gizzards and all that old school stuff. And if you do, I'm not knocking you, okay, by any means. But I remember growing up, my mom, it was during Hurricane Floyd. So this is what, 98, 99 in the Carolinas, right? I was freaking young, man. And so I'm over there at her ex-husband's house or whatever. They ended up being friends and stuff. So she had to work. She wanted us, around, an adult figure. So he and his wife ended up cooking chicken livers and gizzards and stuff. And I took one bite of that. Mm, listen, I ain't ate them since. I ain't even smelled them ever since. And to me, I just don't like them. It doesn't register like, hey, this is good. This is food. This is this. My body doesn't register that, right? And this is both consciously and unconsciously. But now you put a thing of peanut butter in front of me, I'm all over it. Anything related to peanut butter, I don't care. It can be food, it can be candy, it can be anything. Peanut butter, anything. I'm all over it. I love peanut butter. I can kill a whole jar by myself in a week's time. I mean, that's just how I am, right? But my body, I love peanut butter. And so that's the way I typically teach, the basic, most oversimplistic form of pleasure principle, addiction, right? And survival. The body recognizes that such and such is good for me, let me continue to use it or put it into my body. This is good for me, let me continue to do it. This is good, let me continue to do it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Absolutely.
The, the food companies, though, they tricking the brain. Like, like, like food like an orange. Like this is designed with infinite love and infinite wisdom. This, like, it's designed to just completely love us up, as opposed to an orange flavored tangy taffy, which is designed to taste good for 1 second, but then just do damage to the body. It's like, and even the wrapper pollutes the environment. While this wrapper, it's individually packaged, but even the wrapper is like good for the soil. It's like that stuff is not even really food because it doesn't help us to grow and maintain our bodies. This does. So that's the difference between, it's a totally different kind of entity. This is food and that's junk. And it's made out of greed, not to help us, the junk food. This is made to love us up. It's totally different. So when the food is designed to be addictive, it's just having the effect on us. It's not even, we're not even involved. So it has the effect on us that the labs produced about that kind of junk to get us to just keep eating it and try to keep experiencing pleasure every moment and keep wanting more and more of it. Well, like you're not going to eat a whole bag of oranges. Like that just doesn't happen. But you can eat the whole bag of potato chips because it was designed to have that effect on our brain.
Yeah, and I can see that because that bag will say, that bag of chips, I don't know, and don't quote me, so this is just an example. But and it makes sense though, because that bag of chips will say like 8 chips or 10 or whatever is one serving. But come on, really?
Right.
How many I
Right.
can't tell you the last time I ate, one serving of chips by myself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
And so you're just responding the way your brain was meant to respond. They got that exactly. Yeah. They it's like big food, just like big pharma, just designed to entrap us. But we can get out of the trap. And like you said, the way to really, I feel, to heal from addictions is to pour the joy into your life. Because that's what we're seeking. We're seeking lasting pleasure. So when we find fulfillment in other areas of our life, then we don't need the addiction anymore. So it's about pouring in the pleasure. And like I was saying, what brings really lasting pleasure is gratitude. So when we train the brain to scan for positive patterns, that's how we can heal. Whether we had childhoods of trauma, abuse, neglect, whatever the pain is that that we feel a scarcity of pleasure in our lives for whatever reason, all these external things that we're desperately trying to fill ourselves up with, they don't last. They bring very temporary pleasure. If we want lasting pleasure, that comes through training the brain to scan for positive patterns in life, to see that like healthy foods and things like this are made with loving gratitude. It's to bring more compassion into our lives, is to give ourselves the self-compassion we may never have gotten as a child or whatever. We can do it now when we train the brain to live with joyful gratitude.
Yeah, and I think the way I typically one of the things I typically tell people whenever I'm working with them and helping them to get into recovery, and one of the questions that they always ask is, well, what am I supposed to do if I ain't using? Well, you have to, if you're reducing here, right, like you're going to have a void, right? What do you put in place of that void, right? Uh, and it goes back to gratitude, compassion, getting active in your personal life, whether it's exercising, traveling, spending time, maybe, learning how to cook, or, maybe if it's food, right? Learning some dieting, some healthy dieting options, right? Maybe consulting with a chef, setting up a dietary plan, right? Like it's filling this void that we're going to have in our lives, right? That is crushing us, right? It's a self-imposed crisis, of course. And I say that because I truly believe that. But at the same time, not but, and at the same time, because we're reducing here, we need to fill that some way, somehow, some shape, some form, some fashion, something we have to do in the meantime, right? And I've worked with so many people, and I'm curious to this because uh, I know a lot of people are going to be watching this later. Um, Part of what I will do, depending on the person, depending on the circumstances, depending on the situation, where if I work with minorities, right, anybody like, and I have done this before, so it just all depends. One of the things that one of my previous experiences with, and it actually worked to reduce the use of illicit substances, I worked with that individual on on them getting active politically in the local minority chapter. I think it was the NAACP or national. Yeah, it's the NAACP. I just had to double check my acronyms here because there's so many that runs around. Uh, and so because they were working toward getting active in that, they were able to reduce their use of illicit substances. So my question to you is, what do you feel like, or what has been your experience like, in harm reduction principles? Like, what would you say has been, because I assume, and the reason I ask, I assume there's some things that will work better than others. Everybody's different. So, and I know harm reduction is this huge push in substance use field now, where if you got to start somewhere, start with harm reduction, right? Like, and there's other research that supports it too, but that is a huge push right now. So, what do you feel? What are your thoughts on harm reduction? What has been your experience on trying to, maybe help others and stuff like that?
I feel that with addicts, we're people that have exposed souls. Some people can go through life and things happen to them and they don't react much. Addicts are very sensitive people. And we are all hungry. We are all genuinely hungry, like I said, for lasting pleasure in our lives. That's the human condition. But people who are addicts, we feel it more strongly. That's how we ended up becoming addicts. So how to recover from that is to identify what brings you pleasure, and you sub in greater pleasures than that. That's really how I see it. So you and what I and this is why this chart has been helpful to me. It's called the pleasure ladder. This is not from my head. This is based on ancient mystical teachings, and it explains that we are genuinely hungry, and that hunger, it's not a physical hunger. So no matter what physical substances you put in it, it doesn't fill you up. It's a spiritual hunger that only gratitude can fill the hole. So it has 5 levels on this ladder, and it corresponds to our 5 fingers, because we have the power in our own hands to bring pleasure into our lives at any moment. And this is called one moment. That's what it's about. Every moment we have the possibility to live a life of pleasure. This is so incredible. This is what changed my life. So we have this pleasure, we have this potential, and it 5 levels. We see it in our own hands. And these 5 levels also correspond to the 5 levels of the human soul. We have 5 levels. The lowest level of the soul is the part that's attached to the body. So this level of the soul, it is connected to our senses. It's all the sensual pleasures. It's the healthy foods. It's spending time in nature. It's exercising. It's moving, dancing, gardening, swimming, whatever you love to do, music, all these pleasures, that these natural physical pleasures that we were designed to experience with our senses. So again, my favorite, I love to explain about the orange because it's this tiny example that, the fruit, they're green. When they're not ready for us, they're camouflaged in with the leaves. And this is to protect them, because when they become ripe and ready, that's when they become the brightest color, and they're calling to us, we're ready, because they're beautiful to look at. They smell beautiful. And then when we take off the individual wrapping, we experience the sweet juiciness that was kept in for months. Your orange was waiting for you, and it was made with love just for you to experience. So after you eat the orange, you're left with the seeds, and the seeds have the potential to become infinite more trees, infinite more oranges. So this is just one example of infinite love and infinite intelligence. So this is one thing, and we have an abundance of these amazing things in our lives right now. We're just taking them for granted, but they're filled with love, and they were made for you if they're in your life. So that's just level 1 of when we experience any of these sensual pleasures with gratitude. Then we're already on this amazing place of, we're on the first rung of the pleasure ladder, and each level brings more connection and more lasting pleasure in our lives. Because when we're in addiction, we're coming from a place of alienation, estrangement, scarcity, loneliness, anxiety, boredom. We feel cut off, and we're totally self-centered. And going up the pleasure ladder, we become more and more connected. First, we're connecting to a thing, one natural thing in the environment. Like at my lowest point in life, I connected to a tree. Like there was still a beautiful tree, because it's these natural pleasures that can still fill us when we experience them with gratitude. If we go up, the next level is really interesting, because the next level is love. And love, you think that can't be empowering because it's dependent on somebody else. But the ancient definition of love here is focusing on, what do you appreciate about someone else? What about their spirit do you value? So that kind of love we can bring into our lives at any moment. Like even in prison, like let's say a person was in prison, but there was a grandmother that once did a kindness for them. The person could think about that grandmother and get this warm emotional feeling and be uplifted and inspired to be better, just by bringing that person into. They don't have to be physically present. We can bring love into our lives at any moment. So first we connect to a thing, a natural thing. Now we're connecting, moving even more connection, more lasting pleasure, gratitude for another being in our lives. you want me to go up more of the pleasure? Yeah? Okay. So,
Yeah.
Okay. The middle level, and always when you hear about how do you help a person get to heal, you tell people, oh, eat healthy, exercise, volunteer, whatever. And all those things are here, but we're not recognizing it's a spiritual need to do these things. When we do them with gratitude, it becomes a spiritual experience. So the
Now,
middle.
I did not know that but go ahead, because that is so interesting, because you've mentioned, I was going to ask you a question and you answered it. And you said that this thing that we struggle with, right, is this void is a spiritual void, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you what your thoughts were.
I am constantly amazed by the profound impact of sharing our struggles with each other. The one day at a time phrase helps us remember to pause. In a pulsating world, we often forget to pause. That's where One Moment Podcast began its journey, committed to nurturing mindfulness, change, and advocacy around the world, reducing stigmas associated with mental health, substance use, and suicide, and changing the way the world reacts to these taboo topics. Your voice of reason starts here. Founded by mental health professionals and agents for change, our mission is to offer insightful narratives that foster not just reflection, serenity, and insights, but to tackle the problems and solutions of mental health, substance use, and suicide on a global scale. We are making it our vision and mission to make a global impact on the mental health, substance use, and suicide crisis. It is easy to feel isolated and unheard, or like you're carrying your burdens alone. On the One Moment Podcast, we remind you that you're not alone in your struggles. There are millions of people worldwide who are struggling, and the weight of your experiences deserve to be understood. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to have a voice. The One Moment Podcast is a safe haven for connection. We have weekly podcasts. Join us to learn more about mental health, substance use, suicide, community initiatives, and much more as we tackle these global crises, creating change in the world. Change begins when we recognize there is a problem. Remember, change starts with you. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to connect with us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels to stay up to date on our episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, One Moment Podcast. If you would like to support us, you can find the links to donate directly to us on our official site, onemoment.chain.box. You can also support our sponsors. We are presently sponsored by W Energy, The Place to Heal, Mindfully Me Counseling, PLLC, Bright Life Therapy, PLLC, and WebHash. Check our official site for more information. Subscribe now. Some photos in this ad were created by Grok.
Exactly. Gratitude changes it from just being a physical experience. I'm enjoying this orange. But if I feel grateful, then I'm building a connection. This was created for me. This was designed for me. This becomes a spiritual experience when I recognize that and feel gratitude for it. Then it's not just I'm uplifted in that moment because I'm creating a bond. Because what's gratitude? Gratitude is like a bridge. It's not just you alone. If you're feeling gratitude, you're feeling gratitude towards someone, towards something. That's the greater power. I mean, there's a greater power. There's a divine consciousness somehow. And that's what brings in the spirituality. So the middle level is whenever we do something good and meaningful, that brings us even more connection and more lasting pleasure because we are able to give back to the world with gratitude. Like I was on another show and the host said that he was feeling really lonely in his apartment and he bought a whole pie of pizza. He had 2 slices and he's about to finish the whole box of pizza. He's just going to plow through the whole box by himself. And there's a knock on his door. His neighbor needs his help for 2 minutes to move furniture, something. He comes back. He looks at the pizza and he doesn't want it anymore. What changed, like in those 2 minutes?
Well, my first thought was, if you're asking me that, right, and I know you know the answer, so I'm gonna give it my best shot here. My first thought is sociability.
Yeah.
Yeah, sociability.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, he's not social when he's eating that pizza because he's just by himself, right?
Right.
And then his neighbor comes, and then he's social. And then when he comes back, oh, he doesn't want the pizza anymore. Like, I'm good.
Right. Exactly. He connected with someone. He got out of his own selfish place and he connected and he gave to someone else. That filled him up with gratitude. He filled up. He was no longer in that empty place. Exactly. He wasn't alone. He connected. He got the pleasure. Because when we want to eat the whole container of ice cream, it's not that we want the whole container of ice cream. We want pleasure. This is how to get pleasure through gratitude. It's not the ice cream we want, it's the pleasure. We sense that there's a scarcity of pleasure in our lives. This is how to change it to a place of abundance. Immediately, instantaneously. So when we do good and meaningful things, he's helping his friend, his neighbor. He filled up. He didn't need the pizza anymore to fill him up. Right. So the one above that is really interesting because I wouldn't expect it. Oh, I didn't mention you can download this ladder with the explanations on my website. It's a chart that we give out for free on the, actually, I think it's actually now it's $1 because somebody hacked into the website and they were downloading endless copies of the chart. So we charged $1 last week because it stopped that person from hacking the website. Okay, but it's available to just download and put it. You put it on your fridge or your cabinet or something. So this.
No, I love the way you said that, though. That's a great solution.
It stopped the person. They were downloading endless copies of the Pleasure Lab, and then they put it. My daughter-in-law runs the website, and she she charged $1, and that was the end of that. So okay, so right above. The next to the highest level is creativity. When we're being creative, we go into a zone like we don't feel like eating or sleeping, and we're beyond time. We're like not aware that time is passing. We are just in the flow of creativity. Like when you're doing your research or you're working on the podcast, like you're in this amazing state. And why is that? Because we're putting a unique part of ourselves into the world. Here, anybody could help move the furniture, but we're doing something that's uniquely us. Like each of us is a different beautiful light that's needed in the world. So when our light shines, it fills us up. We're on a tremendous high. And when we do it, not from a place of ego, but from a place of gratitude, when we're creative from a place of gratitude, we're just channeling the amazing energy in the universe. And when we do that, we're not afraid of failing. We're just channeling good stuff. So like that can motivate you with the podcast because you're helping people. And then you just flow and you're not afraid of failing. It's just such a high when you're being creative. So these are all ways to sub in greater pleasures. And the highest level of all is called transcendence. It's when we recognize that we are all connected. It's the opposite of the state of addiction when we feel completely isolated and estranged from everybody, alienated. In transcendence, we recognize we are all connected, and we're all connected to the same source energy flowing through the universe, flowing through each other. Like the plants are giving us what we need. We're giving the plants what we're all connected. It's like the veils of separation lift. We experience this like on a starry, starry night when we know we're part of a much greater universe. So these are the 5 levels of pleasure, and there's only one price to pay to climb the pleasure ladder. What is that? What is that price?
So when I think about that question, I think about a cliche in the rooms of recovery in the field of addiction therapy, right? I only have to give up one thing, and that's everything.
Yes.
Is that right? Was that the
Yes.
answer?
Yes.
Really?
All we
Okay.
can, I mean, that's it, because it's it, it's just gratitude. It's just one thing. It changes everything, right?
There's a yeah, no, 100%. There's a building in Aberdeen, North Carolina, and it really touches my heart. It touches my soul. It touches everything that you know. I mean, just because it says a lot, right? Like it says a lot, and it said, or it reads, "Make gratitude your attitude," and think about that, right? Because if we think about it's like Joseph Wooten said on our show that uh, perception is everything, right? Think about if I wake up in the morning, right? As soon as I open my eyes and I'm grateful, right? Like I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful for this. I'm gonna have a pretty good day, right? Pretty decent day. I'm still gonna have to go through, deal with things as they come up, just that and the third. But just think about that, right? And I've been experienced that. Like there are days when I wake up and I work Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at a local hospital here in Winston Salem, and I love my job. I love my colleagues, man. I love my supervisors. And when I say my colleagues, I mean my social workers and the medical staff. Like, and every morning I wake up and I have to go to work. I have it in my mindset, I get to be a service today. I get the opportunity to go to work. I get the opportunity to be of assistance to somebody. Get the opportunity to be part of the solution and not the problem, right? And that's kind of my mindset when I wake up on the days I got to go to work, and it allows me, even when things, do I agree with everything? No, I don't. But when whoever says I got to do this, it is what it is, right? Like I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. I'm gonna screw up, right? But I've experienced that, right? And then compared to other places I've been where it was that dread, right? Oh God, really, I had to go in and deal with this person, and I don't mean like currently where I work at, no, but like previous employer. I mean, I could wake up and just I was not in a grateful mood. uh Literally, when as soon as I open my eyes and I got to go to work, I'm just dreading the day because I have to deal with this dude. I have to deal with it. I have to do this. I have to do that. Like, oh my gosh, really? Why don't they just do that? Right. But that mindset, right? That mindset can change everything.
Yeah.
It literally can change everything. Like, I mean, that to me is very important. Make
Yeah.
gratitude your attitude.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've even gotten to a point now where, when I go into work, I have my little routine, and like this is how I am. And I guess because this is gratitude, right? Uh, where when I go in, I have my routine where I'll go through, say hey to everybody as soon as I clock in or whatever. Dead serious, and I don't know if my supervisors know it, but that's cool. But I will go in, I'll say hey to everybody. I'll check in with all my medical nurses. I'll go check in with all of our non-medical or whatever. I call them medical. The other medical staff. Check in with our providers, and then I'll go grab me a little biscuit from the cafe. Right, come back up. Got my little routine there in the morning where I'll eat and I'll do some spiritual reading or whatever, and then I'm able to kind of go through and start knocking out my daily tasks. And I've noticed, right? I've noticed when I don't do that, my mentality is just shot. I have a crappy day at work. I'm unwilling to be accepting. I am unaccepting of everything. Like I am just a crappy mindset, crappy mood, crappy everything, don't like people, I'm just bothered by everything. So I got to have my routine, right? Because it's part of filling that void, right? It's part of filling that gratitude that you are talking about. It helps me to maintain that mindset.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you brought that up as far as that 5-prong ladder. I was about to say ladder. I'm like, really? 5-prong ladder? um, and then you spoke about uh, transcendence. It makes me think of uh, some of my favorite theorists. One of them is Maslow. When we
Yeah.
hit the top of the pyramid,
Yeah.
we are connected, right? Like we have this idea that it's more than just I, right?
Yeah.
Where it's you, me, job, patience,
Yeah.
life, right? Like it's this whole world. Uh, way I typically, way I like to, say is, I'm only a piece of sand on the beach. I'm part of this thing that's greater than I will ever be. And we're talking about hundreds, thousands of galaxies around the universe. I mean, through the universe. Uh, I mean, we're talking. I mean, just yeah, like that's when you think about it on that perspective. Like that's wow, And I'm part of this whole ordeal here.
In the heart of the city, a vision was born, not just a piece of clothing, but a movement. Vital Apparel reflects not just the raw edge of the streets, but the spirit of innovation to bring about change in mental health worldwide. It's more than a style, it's a statement, a blend of comfort with an attitude made for those who refuse to be average. Embrace the culture, ignite your passion, and wear the revolution. Discover your new favorite piece today and be part of something larger than life. Visit our link now at vtlapparel.com to grab your next outfit. Use promo code ONEMOMENT to get 15% off your order. Why support us? The founders of Vital Apparel, Hung Dao and Alex Kozub, sought out to raise awareness, seeking to change the stigma around mental health. 5% of their profits are donated to Brain Research Foundation, furthering the research in mental health. Vital Apparel sponsors the One Moment podcast. We partnered with one another so that together we can make a global impact on mental health, substance use, and suicide, saving lives one moment at a time around the world. Help us break the stigma. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to connect with us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels to stay up to date on our episodes. Subscribe now. Some photos in this ad were created by Grok.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody that's here is here for many, many missions, many, many reasons for being alive right now. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And all day long, like you were saying, we have an inner critic. All day long, we are battling that inner critic. Like I read research, we have 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of them are negative. And not only that, 95% of all those negative thoughts are repetitive. We keep thinking the same negative things again and again every single day, all day long. So we are battling that. And the only way to battle it is to make our gratitude muscles stronger, to overpower it. It's like this. We have this inner critic. It's like a weight. It's like a barbell. It's weighing down on us all the time. And every time we push it off, it's there on purpose. It's like a personal trainer to help us to grow the gratitude muscles. Because every time we push it away, the negative thought, we grow the gratitude muscles stronger. And the neurons fire together and wire together, and our brains, the pathways become stronger and more numerous, so that it becomes easier and easier to be a more grateful person the more we practice it. At first it feels weird and awkward and ridiculous, but like when you go on a car that hasn't been traveled on the road, it's very hard. But once you put the grooves in the road, it gets easier and easier to travel that path. Also, there was research like it takes like 200 to 400, 400 repetitions to form new synapses in the brain. But if we do things joyfully, 10 to 20 repetitions and we have a new habit. That's how to break the habits, the addictions, the habits that turn into addictions where we're stuck, is by adding joy in. The more joy we add in, the quicker we can overcome the addictive behaviors that we have. Yeah.
I never knew that. Like I knew that, people will say, it takes 21 days, 30 or whatever to break a habit. And I don't know. There's so many theories out there and
Right.
thoughts and, how to, break a habit, form a new habit, this, that, and the third. But I never realized that it was 400,
Yeah, that's what I have.
repetitions to create a new habit.
Yeah.
At all. And then factor in if I'm doing it joyfully, gratefully, it's 10 to 20 habits,
Yeah.
potentially a little bit more. But wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. There was research done at a Christian university. You could look it up online that came up with this. So I'm spreading the word. The quickest way for positive change to happen is do things joyfully. Pour in the gratitude, because when you're trying to overcome an addiction and you just feel restrictions in your life, that can't last long. You've got to fill up on gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I definitely would agree with that. Because gratitude is a tell-all. Gratitude is a tell-all. I've worked with many folks who were, and supervised many folks who were, just you ever work with that one employee? They were just miserable, did not want to come to work, always complaining about everything, and it's like in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, dude, I wish you would just shut up because you're not doing anything. Like you're dragging the atmosphere of the organization down, right? Like you're not doing nothing to create change. You're not, and then even when presented with the opportunity for feedback, you just keep your mouth shut. You shut up. You don't even participate into like, hey, this is what I think, this is what my belief is, right? Like you're just continuously complaining, yet show that, compare that to individuals who are grateful or somewhat grateful. Either way, right? There's still some type of joy there. There's still some type of gratitude there. They're not complaining. They're contributing, trying to find ways that make change, better change, improve the organization. Like research shows, right, that those types of individuals contribute more. The productivity's higher. There's less turnover rate. There is always, more positive, or for the most part, there's a desire for more continued positive growth, positive change in the organization, improvement in the organization. So I could see definitely how gratitude, I think it's a topic that we need to talk more about, just in and of itself, because it's something that, yeah, we use it, we say it, but do we really know what it means?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Do we really
Yeah.
know the full outcome?
Yeah. And you can do it all day long. We have the
Yep.
opportunities to do it all day long. We have the negative voices coming at us all day long. And the more we recognize, one of the books I wrote for children is Don't Read This Book. It's teaching young children to be aware of that voice. Because the minute you recognize the voice, you can overpower it. The
Yep.
voice is telling you from the beginning of your life, you're missing this, you're lacking that. If you only had this, you'd be happy. If you recognize that voice, you go, oh my gosh, it's you trying to make me miserable. But really, I'm going to push you away and grow my gratitude muscles and be happy for what I already have in my life. Oh my gosh, that it runs away, the voice, quickly. And because you have taken your power back. And that's really what we're here for. We're really here to enjoy this incredible garden with gratitude. That's what we were created for. And we've gotten so far out of that. We made things really complicated. It's really very simple.
Yeah. No, and I think and I love that you said that, because I had a friend of mine. He was a Catholic priest. He said, "Kev, think about this." He said, and I'm not saying whether I'm Catholic, or not, or anything like that. But his philosophy was, he said, we've been given this whole backyard, this whole huge backyard, front yard, side yard, everything yard, and we get to explore outer space. We get to explore the inner workings of the earth. And he said, there's so much about this whole yard we don't even know. And we're continuing to make progress. So I love that you brought that up, because that reminded me of what he said. This was years ago. So it's interesting. It is very interesting that a lot of what you're saying, comes from different pieces there.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and even when we have relapses, it's like, even then, that weight comes down on us, and we feel miserable. And then you say to yourself, wait a minute, like in terms of cookies, you go, okay, like I had 10 cookies, but I didn't have 100 cookies. And you're grateful for that. You turn it around, you take your power back. You say, okay, even if I had 200 cookies, I didn't have 2,000 cookies. You can change anything into a gratitude place, so that you don't get stuck down, weighted down by the negativity. Every moment is an opportunity. In one moment, you can choose gratitude, and it changes everything. It brings you connection, and that's what you need. That's what brings us lasting pleasure in life, and that's really what we want. We just got stuck in addictions looking for that pleasure.
Yep. Yep. No, I think you're right on that one. So, look, the way we operate on the One Moment podcast is, we always ask 2 questions, right? But I'm gonna ask you 3. Okay, I'm gonna ask you 3. One is, if people want to do a consult with you, do a consult, maybe talk to you more, have more questions, or what have you, right? One is, how can they get in touch with you? Okay, how what is that process like? Do you serve? Is there populations you specifically work with? Are there no populations that you don't work with? Like, kind of talk about that. Number 2 is, if somebody watches this show, right? For the people who watch this show, what is something you hope they will take away, right? And number 3, what is your call to action?
Okay, I think I could tie them all up together. Like, I just put this up last week, growingimpactpublications.com. I don't know if it comes out backwards or forwards when you see it there, but that's our website, growingimpactpublications.com. I'm the author of 45 children's books, because I love explaining this stuff to children as early in life as possible. They don't have to go through a lot of unnecessary pain that we've been through that way. So I got, one of them is, The Happiness Box. This is such an important book. Helps children learn how to use their brain as a happiness box. It's amazing. So you could go there, you could find out about the books, you could get in touch with me there for consultations or whatever. So that's the best place to find me. It's run by my children. So it's a family business now that we're just getting these messages out in the world. It's called Growing Impact because we've just been expanding, and it's wonderful. So thank God it's affecting a lot of people and saving lives. And I'll just end with this. This is a message. What's the difference between a happy life and a miserable life? It's how grateful you are. The same life, a person could look at in so many different ways. So just recognize whatever you've been through in life, you can train your brain to scan for positive patterns and begin to fill your life with loving compassion and joy through experiencing one moment at a time in gratitude. Any moment that you experience gratitude is a moment that you're not being miserable. Just be grateful for any moment you could do that.
Wow. And there's just a simple reminder to everybody. That is 86,400 moments in every single given day that we are given, every 24 hours. Think about that. About half of that time we're asleep. So that's what, 43,200? So, all right, listen, I'm going to end the live, so I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for helping so many people.
Feeling lost or alone, struggling with unbearable trauma or addiction. Every day feels heavier than the day before. The weight of unaddressed emotions and problems can leave you paralyzed. On the One Moment podcast, we are aligned with the vision and mission of the Place to Heal. Founded in Sanford, North Carolina, the Place to Heal is a growing multi-specialty mental health and substance use practice dedicated to facilitating healing and personal development. Our team of compassionate clinicians are committed to providing evidence-based therapeutic interventions tailored to each individual's unique journey. We are passionate about empowering our clients to overcome challenges and achieve emotional wellness. The Place to Heal hosts and sponsors the One Moment podcast. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about our podcast and to be connected to the Place to Heal. Follow us on social media for more content.
Does anyone else have that one moment where everything feels too overwhelming to handle? Fortunately, there are therapeutic resources where you will learn the skills necessary to bring clarity and focus amidst chaos, making everything feel manageable again. At Mindfully Me Counseling, we guide you towards clarity and calm with personalized therapy. Embrace your self-care today. Visit mindfullymecounselingplc.com to learn more. We sponsor the One Moment podcast. They meet weekly to discuss critical topics related to mental health, raising awareness on various topics such as substance use, suicide, trauma, family, and more. Visit onemoment.chain.box to learn more about the podcast and to be connected to additional resources. Subscribe to their social media channels for more information.